The Real Estate Photography Podcast is brought to you by tourbuzz.net, high definition virtual tour and photograph hosting, now with interactive floor plans. Sign up for your free trial today. Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Photography Podcast with Mike Muriello. This is episode 129, and we are going to be talking about post-production yet again. I had gotten a question either on the forum or through email, I can't remember which, asking to show a shoot to post, so beginning of the process to the end of the process. Well, that takes an extraordinary amount of time to do that sort of thing, so I thought what I'll do is instead of showing a video camera of me standing there leveling out a tripod and ball head and all that nice stuff, I'll just show you what I shot and how I'll take it from here. So what I normally do is I'll do the exposure fusion, and depending, exposure fusion or super light HDR, not a surreal kind of look, basically to merge those exposures, and then I'll do PT lens edit, PT lens, which takes and removes that distortion that I have, and then I'll edit it. And for this case, I'm not going to do the PT lens, and the reason why is, you'll see, the type of distortion I have here is not going to be removed very easily. And yes, I'm shooting with an inferior lens, and I've talked about that before. I'll be making the switch eventually. Give me a break. Okay. And I'm also going to be doing this in Aperture 3 because for me right now, it's Wednesday, February 10th, and Aperture 3 was released yesterday. So why not kill two birds with one stone and show off the features of Aperture 3? So anyway, the first 7 here you got from here over to here. These 7 are the 7 auto exposure bracketing, the bracketed shots. So what we're just going to look at is the fused exposure. So just pop it into Photomatix, fuse it up, and you'll come out with something like this. Now this looks fine, but it's not done. Oh, and by the way, remember how I said I'm not going to show you how to do the distortion thing? I'm not going to walk you through it. Look over here. If you see this bowing in these cabinets, and it's a little bit on the right side too, that's the reason why. That's going to take me some time in Photoshop to warp that out. I should say to unwarp it out. And it just takes time, and I'm not going to waste anybody's time doing that. So, anyway, so here's what I would do. And I said this before, exposure fusion is a great place to start. It's not a great place to finish. It's not done yet. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to pop it into full screen so we can get a little bit more of our real estate of our screen. And I'm going to be using a tablet here, which makes it a little bit easier. So a couple of new things in Aperture, these presets where you can quickly see what your changes will be, and you can do color, and you'll see, oh, it reminds me a lot of Lightroom and whatnot, and you can change your white balance, all that nice stuff. And I even found a preset pack yesterday on release day of some really neat presets. Anyway, maybe I'll put a link to that in the show. The other thing is the brushes that you can use, as opposed, these are all the different things that'll go on the Aperture HUD, but here is the list of quick brushes. And apparently skin smoothing is really good. I haven't used it. I haven't had a need for it yet. Maybe after the next wedding. But here we go. Let's go ahead and we're going to intensify contrast, which is overlay. We're going to decrease the size of this brush a little bit. And detect edges is on. And let's turn that off for a second. And I will go very quickly, by the way. I will make this quick, and it'll be a little rough, but that'll be all right. So I'm just intensifying the contrast and doing a little bit to the hardwood because it needs to be a little bit darker. But I don't want to make everything darker since this room is white. It's very high key. So we're gonna take the intensity down a little. See, well, there's nothing, and there's something. That's a little too much. Obviously, I should have detect edges on to not let it spill over, but we're just gonna ignore that for right now. The other thing I want to do is I want to polarize. I want to multiply. For this, I cannot use detect edges, as it's gonna accidentally detect too many edges in the granite. So I'm gonna darken the countertops, but once again, just like in Lightroom, don't worry too much about how dark it looks at first, because you're going to change it. Oh boy. A lot of spill. Bear with me here. Pretty ugly. But we'll get rid of that. I can see somebody fast forwarding right now saying this is boring. I understand, but just hear me out. Okay, so now we have that intensified contrast, but you can bring it down and it gets a lot darker, but you don't want it too dark. See, now this, you're creating too much contrast. And the last thing I would do, now that I have, and by the way, we'll just do that quick before and after. There's before, after, and after. We're done with that. Now what I also think would be pretty neat are these presets where this color one where it's toy camera. Now this seems silly and it does seem over the top, and it is, especially this vignette. I would get rid of that vignette. It's way too powerful. And I kind of like this look. So what's happened here is all these different things have darkened around their edges, and the contrast has been up, and I'm going to up this definition slider a bit till right about there. So that's it for what I would do to this photo in terms of fixing it up. Couple of things, you still have to take it into PT Lens or DxO Optics or Photoshop, and you got to remove this distortion here. This isn't right. That's not how the cabinet's made. Yes, it's my inferior lens. I'm not using a rectilinear lens. It's not rendering straight lines the way they should. As I said before, I'm going to be making that switch to full frame. I know I will be. Just try and convince my wife that it's a smart move, and we'll see what happens. All right. That's it, and that's shoot to post. And that's also Aperture 3. See, this is the other thing. I should also stop for a second. You can turn this off and ignore them if you want. I'd like to sit on the photos for a few hours before I send them out. I don't always like to just edit them and then send them out. I like to. It's kind of like just looking at them, letting them soak in, letting them absorb, and then if I go back and I look at it again for the first time, kind of with a fresh look, I will say, no, way too much contrast, or this looks completely fake, or this is not my style. That is something that I would always recommend somebody do, is take that extra time, walk away from it, come back and look at it with fresh eyes, and say, yes, this is actually what my vision was for this photo. So, alright, well thanks for watching, and have a good one.